Today on Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we're talking about actions and consequences. Are you aware of what you're putting out and getting back in life? Do you pay attention to what you're thinking and sharing with yourself and the universe? How are you affecting the outcome of what you're trying to create? Learn about the cause and effect law as we continue our month focusing on beginnings and endings. Does your clutter own you? On Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, we'll teach you how to become aware of your clutter along with action steps to declutter and create the life you desire. Come on, let's get started. Today's episode was inspired by a few things. It was inspired because I see people a lot, and I used to be this way myself, complain, but take no action. No judgment, just reality. And also inspired by seeing people who put in the effort and they were able to change their life. One of the things I really want to leave you with from this entire podcast is that you're in charge. You can create the life you desire. Also, because I see so many people make choices and then complain about the consequences, or people lack awareness of how their choices affect others. I think of the January 6th riot. And I think there were some people who genuinely believed, I think these were a small minority, that they weren't going to face any consequences. They were going to be given a pass, that someone was going to say, hey, we've got their back. That's the impression. I think material needs to come out. But I kind of get the sense that people were told, or it was implied, hey, if you do this, don't worry about it. You're not going to get in trouble. So I think there were some people like that. I think there were some people who just didn't think. And nothing drives me crazier when someone does something and then cries, boo-hoo, woe is me. Oh, I didn't know I could go to jail about that, over that, or committing that, or doing that. I just don't, especially as an adult, I just don't, I just am not a fan of that. I don't believe in it and I don't buy it. And so there have been times in my life where I've made choices and haven't been happy and I had to suck it up and suffer the consequences. When I was growing up, my father said to all of us, if you go out and get trouble and get arrested, I'm going to let you sit in jail for the night. I'm not bailing you out, just so you know that. And that was to teach us, if you do something, be prepared for the consequences. And I know not everyone grew up with that, but I still feel, I know and see as adults that people just don't want to take responsibility. They don't want to be accountable. The other thing I see is people lack awareness of how their choices affect others. So if you do something, say in your relationship or whatever, and then can't get upset that your spouse or partner says, oh my gosh, that really hurt me, because you didn't think about your actions and the consequences they'd have for others, as one example. When I was really negative in my life, and so my actions were negative, I was surrounded by people like that. I got more of that in my life. And when I changed my attitude, when I worked on being positive, when I worked on my personal growth, the energy around me changed. Getting off autopilot made a difference. There's this great story. So it was my last job in Los Angeles, and I'd been working for a grant writer, and the guy had hired me because he was a great writer, really was. I definitely learned some things for him. But they hired me so he could be a director of development and go out and meet people and get money. They really needed to have a fundraiser. So he would just criticize and spend all this time writing all these things on all of my writing that I'd turn into him. And then he would, one time I'll never forget, complained about me going on vacation. This is like 10 days, 2 weeks before I'm leaving. And I was coming back, I was in Los Angeles at the time, and coming back, spend time with my mom, and we were going to North Carolina to visit relatives. And I was like, whoa. So anyway, I had started my Clear Sight program, and I really started to shift my attitude towards him. And what I did was I wouldn't let what he did bother me. And within a week of that, true story, and Cotty can vouch for this, he announced that he was getting a new job. And I just kept working on myself, because what happens is, as you change, either people rise up to meet you or they go away. That's just how it works. And so that's why I'm such a big fan of personal growth and working on ourselves. And so that we attract what we desire. And we want to be around people that support us and lift us and all that good stuff. Now, I'm going to talk about the law of cause and effect, but that's not going to be the entire, it's just a part of it. One of the things that I'm not a fan of is the law of attraction gets all this stuff, and then people are made to feel bad if they haven't created the life they desire. Now, in my personal belief system, I feel like we choose certain lessons this lifetime. We have contracts, which I also believe you can blow up or release. We have karma. There are a bunch of other factors in this. So if you read The Secret and don't manifest a $5 million home, don't beat yourself up. And I'm not a fan of The Secret too, because for me, it puts so much emphasis on the material goods. There's so many other things to focus on in life. And I'm not saying live in poverty. I'm not saying that at all. But I think just seeing blips of The Secret, I never read it. It just turned me off that it was focused on being so materialistic. Can control our thoughts, our feelings, our emotional state. Not never to be in judgment, to be an observer. That's what I had to do, and step back, say, whoa, Julie, you're kind of negative there, and not realizing, okay, now I realize I'm negative. I have that awareness. Now what action can I take? Now, our actions do have consequences. And as a little caveat here, I did a previous podcast on injustice, because it can be incredibly frustrating when you see people who do wrong actions, bad actions, put those in quotes, wrong, bad actions. Because again, I feel there's so many moving things that play into that. Like, can we see what is a bigger spiritual picture? I was walking with a friend yesterday, and we were like, oh, the state of the world. And then we were stepping back and saying, but it's unraveling as it should. Maybe we have to lose everything to build again. And everything is from that higher, more spiritual perspective. So today I want to talk about you and your actions having consequences. You can listen to that podcast episode on injustice that I just mentioned, because sometimes people have consequences, or I'm sorry, have actions, and they don't have any consequences. That can be incredibly frustrating. So today we're just going to be talking about you. We're going to concentrate on you today, which in general I'd say is always good. If we spend our time worrying about others, complaining about others, that takes the focus outside of ourselves. It serves as a distraction. Well, I can complain and about all these people over here, and then not take any responsibility, not change my life. So today, let's focus on that. So I'll talk a little bit about the law of cause and effect. And it's, for me, kind of parallel with actions have consequences. So the law of cause and effect says every effect has a specific and predictable cause. Every cause or action has a specific and predictable effect. Our life is an effect that is a result of a specific cause. Now, according to this, success is not built upon chance or luck. It's not determined outside of you. It is created within you. Now, again, as one example, if we're looking purely at monetary success, there are these things that definitely come into play. If you come from a really wealthy family, I was just reading about Jennifer Gates is getting married this weekend, and her parents brought her, because I remember Gates and pledging that they weren't going to leave all their fortune to their kids, and they wanted to leave a lot to philanthropy. When she graduated from college, they bought her a $14 million horse farm. That's where she's getting married this weekend. And I will be checking out the pictures, because I heard they're going to spend a couple million. And I'm always curious if you'd spend that much on a wedding, what it would look like. And they also bought her a $5 million condo in New York because she's going to med school. Now, I'm not faulting her parents. I think that's incredibly generous. and she's successful. And from what I've read, I mean, she's med school and equestrian. Like, I get the impression she works hard, not knowing her. But my point is, if you're given a $14 million horse farm, if you're given a $5 million condo, you have to, you're way ahead of other people. There are different factors in life that are going to allow other people to automatically be quote unquote ahead. So I still believe that you determine everything, but I'm also realistic. So just as a caveat to not get down on yourself. And I know I've talked before, you need to define success as to what success means to you. So thoughts are important, but I want to widen that a little bit, right? Because our actions and their consequences, thoughts create reality. That's where it starts. The thought is thing kind of at the beginning, the very seed that happens, but other things that are going to affect our actions and consequences, decisions. In every moment, you have a choice to make a decision. Talking yesterday with my friend about how we feel if at risk kids are mentored early, that a mentor can really change the course and the direction of our lives. She was talking about someone she knew, and the young man was 16, had been in and out of homes his entire life, never had that stability. And, her concern was he'd either end up in jail or dead. There wasn't that mentor to intervene. And I think at some point, I think you can always change. I believe there's always hope. And I encourage people never to give up hope. And realistically, we don't have enough mental health services, at least here in the US, and I'm sure around the world. So we always can't get what we need. So had a mentor came in early, I believe in any child's life, they can really positively change direction. And the child has to want to change, wants to follow, want to be open to advice. So our decisions, our habits, what are your daily habits doing? What are they creating? Your beliefs, your values, your emotion. It's not just thinking and it's feeling. One thing I do when I'm trying to create something is, oh, can I get into that feeling? How would it feel to see my book on the shelf at a bookstore? Oh man, that'd feel fantastic. Our behaviors, our mental energy, our mental state, our mental thought, all of these play into our action. So I want you to think about that. What are you creating? What are you doing? And all of those. So stew on that for a little bit because all of those are contributing to the actions that you're taking and will eventually have consequences. The law of cause and effect also says that everything happens for reasons, whether good or bad. What you're attracting in your life is a direct result of the causes you brought forth into existence. I would also say where the attention goes, energy flows. And again, I take a bigger perspective of creating contacts before we come to life on earth. I also believe you can change those. I don't believe anything's static. I believe that we have free will and free choice. But really, we create everything. I've mentioned about 2018 being the toughest year of my life, and some things have happened recently. And coming back to West Virginia, I kind of feel like I made a deal. Okay, I'm going to grow up here, let me go, then I will come back and take care of people. That's just my sense. I never had any awareness of this prior to that. It's just kind of what I'm feeling now. Like, okay, and if some things would have happened, I couldn't have fulfilled that obligation. And it makes me feel a little better of things not turning out as I had hoped. Your life conditions create effects. Your reactions to events and people determine how you feel and behave. So again, I just don't want to get caught up in the actions have consequences, but looking at the actions and the nitty grittiness of it, not just your actions, but your reactions, because that's playing a part of how you feel and behave, and how you feel and behave and you think that ultimately leads to actions and their consequences. How are you reacting to events? people and circumstances in everyday life. That is creating how you feel and think on a daily basis. And that creates a chain of effects, and it's constantly recalibrating. But if we're on autopilot, it's staying pretty steady there, and it's creating your reality, what's going to call forth in your life every single day. Do you keep saying that you'll have the life you desire someday, but someday never comes? Have you been feeling like your clutter owns you? Looking for a little more support that's budget friendly? We'll be doing weekly take actions and creating a community to move you forward so you can discover joy and freedom. Visit Declutter Your Life with Julie Coraccio on Patreon to learn more, or find the link on reawakenyourbrilliance.com. Your thoughts create causes. Your thoughts give meanings to circumstances. And this is from the law of cause and effect, the whole thing you can read on it. Your thoughts are creatively manifesting your reality. Your life experience is a reflection of the thought manifestations. So let's use the example of you're single and you really want to be in a relationship. If you believe that you make these blanket statements that all men are bad, women are bad, all people are bad, then you have a really negative attitude, very negative perception. So you're probably going to attract people in your life to date that fulfill that for you, that say to you, okay, yeah, I'm going to prove you right because this is what you think. This is what you've created all the time. Now, what if you were to switch that? There's someone out there for me. As I said before I met my husband, I just need one guy. I don't need a slew of them, just one. I just need to marry one guy. But you start to work on healing yourself. Well, what part did I play in this relationship? What did I have to do? So you work a little bit on healing, work a little bit on adjusting your attitude and saying, you know what, there are good people out there. And you think about your friends that are in really good relationships. You think about the spouse or the partner. Say, oh, they're such a good person. My friend is really, it's great that they're in their life. Oh, that's a good example. And then you create this list of all the good partners and spouses you know. And you're working on healing yourself. So working on all this stuff at the same time. I'm betting, and the law of cause and effect would say that you're going to start to have a different reality. You're going to attract different people in your life. The people that aren't so groovy are going to go away. I've seen this happen in my everyday life all the time. And so by doing those switches, and for example, you would also do things differently. If you had this attitude like, wow, people are really kind, instead of saying in the past, if someone really great ask you out and you'd be suspicious or what's wrong with them. I had a friend that his thought always immediately when he met with someone was, there's always one thing that'll blow up a relationship. So he's expecting that one thing that would make a relationship not work come to pass. And as I knew him, it happened a couple times. So then you think, oh, this person's really nice. So instead of being defensive or what's wrong or going down that path, you think, wow, this person's really, oh, I'm really excited. Can you see how that action has a different consequence? Our individual thoughts are the causes we create in our reality. These causes these causes create effects which we experience in our lives as manifested life circumstances. So remember that everything that you're experiencing in your life, you created. Our thoughts give meaning to our experience of reality, which is why we have different perspectives. Mentioned a moment ago, if you have this perspective that someone's always going to hurt you, then that's going to create your reality. And someone who has a different perspective is going to be creating a different reality. As I've mentioned before, our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, our processes, our feelings, we are in control of that. We can control our thoughts. And I just recorded for a mental health, I'm doing a mental health conference, and I just recorded my little piece for that. And I brought that up again. You have control over that. You have control to be in the present moment, which is your point of power to change. It's not easy. The first time I really paid attention to my thoughts, I was like, dang, you're really negative, Julie. You're really in the past. And what that taught me was that I didn't speak up for myself. I didn't have good boundaries. And that's the action that I had to take. When I took that awareness, okay, this is where I am, but why is that? And dug a little deeper, then I could change my thinking and I could do different actions, which would create a different reality. We're choosing how to interpret our experiences. You can choose to see yourself as a victim or not. If you see yourself as a victim, you're going to have a much different experience than someone who doesn't see themselves as a victim. You can be consciously aware of your emotions as well as unconsciously. Why it's very important to do that inner work, do that digger deeping, and uncover what you're unconsciously thinking. And that becomes with awareness. And there are all different ways that you can work on that. And so, what we believe in the world is going to dictate our behavior. If you thought, for example, that the election was stolen, then you were going to say, of course, I'm going to storm. Not of course. Then it makes sense for me that I'm going to storm the Capitol on January 6th because that is what is in your belief system. Now, not other people might have thought that and obviously didn't go and do the same thing. You can see if that's your belief system, that's going to dictate your actions. And so someone else might have thought the same thing, but also thought, you know what? I don't think that's a very good idea to do that. It doesn't sound too legal to me, and I can't rely on a politician to get me out of it. So I'm going to choose and I'm going to behave differently. Because we control our thoughts create the causes and the effect, the actions and the consequences. Again, I've mentioned that I believe in free choice. And so we're choosing these. Like if you're on autopilot, you're choosing, and even doing nothing is a choice. Some people say, I don't have a choice. And I don't believe that. I believe you always have a choice because you can begin to change your thoughts, change your feelings, change your emotions, change your behavior to have the outcome that you desire. The law of cause and effect also states that free choice has created learned behaviors, responses, reactions, thoughts, and interpretations of life and circumstances. We've learned and we have a lot of us have patterns, psychological patterns that we've gotten from society or childhood, but we still have that free choice. That's why it's important to become aware. What are you really thinking? What are you really believing? What are you really feeling? And sometimes it's not always easy. We have those blinders on. We might not be aware of it. I talked about how I wasn't aware I was so negative. The thing that got me started is someone said to me, "You're really negative." And I was like, "Wow. Okay. Let me take a step back from that." My brother's saying to me, "Yeah, you see yourself as a victim." Oh my gosh, he's right. What does that mean? How do I change that? And looking back in that time period, oh my gosh, well, then I created situations that made me feel like a victim, right? It's kind of like depression caused clutter, and clutter causes depression, and it gets into that vicious cycle. Law of cause and effect also says because we have free choice, we have the free choice to unlearn our thoughts, behaviors, and reactions. We have free choice to become proactive and conscious thinkers. What actions and consequences. You can change those actions, you can change those behaviors, you can break those psychological patterns. Free choice means you can make a different choice and choose to unlearn and what it will take to trigger the causes that will create the effects that you desire to experience in life. What is coming to you as you're listening to me speak? What are you noticing about yourself? Have you had any aha moments like, oh yeah, wow, I didn't realize this? What was your thought in that moment? Was it, "Oh my gosh, this is baloney," or was it like, "Hmm, hmm, What can I do to change this? What do I need to be aware of? Did it get you thinking? Or are you automatically hands up, not me? Here are some questions to consider. How are my thoughts causing, creating, and maintaining my reality? How can I start to see the world differently? How can I gain new perspectives? How can I break and change my patterns of thinking? Who is it that I admire? Who is it that I think, wow, I would really like to have a life like that? How can I look at them and examine their behaviors and their habits? What decisions are they making? What thoughts and actions do I think that they are doing? What is it that I want to create? And how can I work that backwards? And say, if I want to create a relationship, how can I look at my thoughts and behaviors and my patterns of thinking? What are they now? And do I need to release? What clutter do I need to clear from that to move forward? I also wanted to add, I found this from blog savannahspirit.com, the law of cause and effect in karma, because I personally believe in karma. And so I thought they had some really good information. And if you also believe in karma, I just wanted to share a little bit. Karma in Buddhism is motivation and what is motivated. So that's why one can accumulate good and bad karma just by wishing an outcome with a strong motivation. And that's a little bit different than I've had people say to me. It's like, oh no, you can think it, but if you don't take action, it's different. And karma and Buddhism saying, you wish it strongly enough. The action itself is a positive or negative karmic force, which sometimes is called merit or non virtue. When completed, this carries its karmic effect, which continues with the person's mental continuum as a karmic tendency or constant habits to repeat the action through body, speech, and mind. For a complete karmic cause to be set in motion, always four factors have to take place: the basis of the action or the object at which the action is aimed, the intention to act based on motivation, which can be positive, negative, or neutral. I've talked a lot about getting neutral. The action itself need to be carried out directly or indirectly, which is a great little reminder. Hey, go push that little girl over there. I'm not going to do it, but I indirectly had my finger in it. And you need to be satisfied or feel no regret after doing the action. If one of the four factors isn't present, the karmic consequence will be less heavy. But that doesn't mean there won't be no results. In the latter case, we speak of karmic impediment, which will contribute to the maturation of other karmic primary causes similar in nature. It can be physical and verbal actions, but usually start with mental urges or mental karma. So this is saying the exact same thing. It begins with thoughts. The urge to do something comes before the actual action and is often accompanied by its own compelling emotion. So I just wanted to share that for those of you that believe in karma and interested. And I'd never known this until I actually had done the research. I didn't know about the four factors. So that's just a little FYI. Moving forward, when you're making a choice and you're in the present moment, get out of autopilot, ask yourself, what are the consequences? But go a little further. Ask, if doing this, will it bring me fulfillment and joy? Who else is going to be affected by my choice? What are the potential consequences to other people, to my community, to the world? Another thing that I found really helpful, I like to close my eyes and take deep breaths. But if I'm contemplating things and the consequences, I like to close my eyes and go into my heart and see how that feels. Do I feel good? Does it feel good in my heart? Or do I get a glitch? Do I get a hesitation? Does my tummy tighten up? Our body is very in tune to our soul nature if we're paying attention. And so I always try to Drop into my heart, drop into my body. What am I really feeling? Now, I also believe in a sovereign self. She looks great. Her hair's always done. I cut my hair recently. Her hair's still really long. She has a nice goddess gown on. And when I sit in meditation or when I sit quietly, I visualize her. It's just me and my higher self, my sovereign self. I visualize her and have a dialogue with her. What wisdom can you share with me? I work on talking with her and not my ego, right? Because my ego's got a whole different agenda going on. I encourage you to find a way that allows you to connect with your higher self, your soul, whatever term you're comfortable using. And be aware of when it's your soul speaking and not your ego, because they'll have very different responses. Take actions from today's podcast. Reflect on how your thoughts, behaviors, and actions have led you to where you are in life today. Consider how you'd like your life to be different. Become consciously aware of your thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and actions. Pay attention to the choices you make in each moment. Become present to make the best possible choice. Ask, what are the consequences when making a decision? Ask, does this bring me joy and fulfillment? Contemplate how your actions will affect others. Drop into your heart and connect with your higher self. On our next episode, we're talking about where you need to begin or end something. Go out, clear your clutter to create the life you choose, deserve, and desire. Clearing your clutter allows you to share your gifts with the world. Get your free self-assessment to discover your clutter priority at reawakenyourbrilliance.com. If you've enjoyed Clear Your Clutter Inside and Out, please rate, review, and share us.